Through the years, the senator has always worked to look for ways to serve his community. He was in the local school board and the state house, and I think I read something, you were like head of your student council as well. So talk about service at an early age. But let's welcome Senator Mike Braun. Thank you.
Also started the ecology club back in high school, so only have 10 minutes here. I'm going to try to give you my view of what we do with climate. And full disclosure, I was a conservationist way before I was a conservative and an entrepreneur. I've been interested in Mother Nature since the days I was daydreaming out the window as a fifth grader and noticed a swallow called the purple martin, and should have been paying attention to something else. And that's a migratory bird that when I figured out what it was about, I had my dad down at the furniture factory build a birdhouse for me, and I've been a steward of birds, purple martins, now, I'm going to give my age away, 55 years. So I've got them lined the boulevard or where I built my business. Climate, taking care of our air and our water, I think there's a lot more interest in that than what you might see politically, because everything gets polarized and divided here so quickly. I got involved further in practicing what I'm going to preach about here in a moment when I decided to move back to my hometown back in 1978 after getting out of business school and a finance guy. You know, I had a lot of different options. I chose to move back there because I did figure out at business school I was an entrepreneur. I wanted my own business. Well, I was a laggard. My wife will celebrate her 41st year with her own business in our downtown. When you get involved in a community, lucky enough to raise 4 kids, 3 of whom work in my business with a good young executive team, gave me the peace of mind to do this. It is kind of the things I look for in people and leaders to see what they're going to do when they get to the next stage. I got really involved in being a steward of resources in 1987 when, in this little town of 8,000, I wanted to live out in the country. Found 100 acres, never had a road to it since the federal government deeded it to the first landowner who was a Revolutionary War hero. That's the kind of thing, somebody that thinks out of the box, an entrepreneur, perfect. No road, no problem. Took me 2.5 years, I got that. Wanted it just to be secluded, was a hunter and a fisherman, and then some loggers started calling me to help me out with the tree resource. Well, scratched my head a little bit, took the Purdue short course to learn something about forestry. Never knew that was going to come into my own personal agenda. Well, now 12,000 acres later, with mostly forest ground and farm ground, that's really what I miss about being a U.S. Senator, because that's the life I had before I got here. But I truly believe, regardless of what you think of the current political scene, that if you do not get more individuals that come out of the real world, that know something about how to make a budget, how to make a payroll, how to take risk, even when it comes to climate, expect more of the same. And now I'm part of an institution that is an embarrassment in terms of its financial condition to whether we're interested in infrastructure, climate, healthcare. We do not have the ability to do what we should be able to do to lead, not only to fix the issues in our own country, but to set the example across the world. On the Budget Committee, the most irrelevant committee in the Senate, we have not done a budget in 20 years, that we've stuck to especially. On agriculture, chair, and here's how life is interesting, chair the subcommittee on advanced nuclear technology and clean air. Well, I was taking pictures of the furniture factory spewing out coal dust back when I was in high school. Didn't think anything of it other than until my dad, who managed one of the factories, said, hey, they were talking about you at the Kiwanis Club. That's what we need more of, people that will take risk. And here in this federal government, we have, in my opinion, gotten too swamped by how this place has evolved to where climate, I'm a conservative, I'm a conservationist. We are putting CO2 into the air, and it's creating a greenhouse effect, and we shouldn't be arguing about that. We should be arguing about what are we going to do about it. All I can tell you is I get here, Chris Coons comes up to me on the other side of the aisle, and I had no idea why he knew. Maybe he read a little bit about my resume, that I'm a tree farmer more as much as a guy that built a logistics business. I'm a tree farmer and a lover of nature, probably more than my new job as a senator. He asked me to step across the line when no other Republican would go there. I said, I'll be the first member of the Climate Caucus. I've done that my whole life, stuck my neck out, taken risks, things that I believe in. Well, bumped into a guy named Mitt Romney a few days later and said, hey, Mitt, wouldn't you want to join me so that we as entrepreneurs and conservatives can weigh in, because I think we're going to fix it. And I'll tell you about it in a moment why I think that's going to be the case. He said, yes, Mike, love to. Talked to Lisa Murkowski just yesterday on the floor, number 3. I've got 2 more I think I'm going to get in the next few days. And now Chris Coons is having to scramble to get more Democrats on to match it. He said, I'll have no problem. So I'm interested in doing what I think Berkshire Hathaway, Chase, Amazon is going to do with healthcare. And I want to give you a little bit of a vignette on that as a comparison to climate. I took on the insurance companies single-handedly 11 years ago and it was before we got into the recession of all times. Covered pre-existing conditions and no cap on coverage. They thought I was lying as a Republican and a conservative when I ran to get this job, but I did it. And I didn't do it for any political reason. I did it because I wanted sustainable health care for my employees. I made it consumer driven. I sold my employees on having skin in the game. Not been a premium increase in 11 years. Cut costs 50% out of the gate. I tell you that story. That's how we're going to solve climate change more than through regulation and dictation. Is I really believe there are more closet conservationists out there. They just need to be stirred, like I've done here recently with new members to join this climate caucus, and that we're going to solve it through innovation and through capital, not from a place that has none, like the federal government. You have no capital when you're running trillion-dollar deficits and you're borrowing everything that you spend money on here. Never going to work. I didn't need to get a business degree and specialize in finance for that. Plus, the political will, if you're wanting us to craft the solutions. I challenge everyone that's interested in any subject, just like I do the CEOs of the healthcare industry, who I've met with not only since I fixed it in my own business, which would work across that difficult topic. I tell them, are you that thick-headed, are you that stubborn that you're buying into a broken system and you don't want to remedy it for your own well-being? Well, certain dynamics in life, when you get so cozy, so nestled in, a lot like this new business of 100 board of directors of our federal government, senators can be, to where you don't step out of the comfort zone. You don't go across the aisle. You don't take risk. I think that with climate, in talking to energy entrepreneurs, so far ahead of the curve compared to the healthcare industry, you can see it as it's unfolding. Indiana, 20 years ago, 90% coal-generated electricity. We're down to about 73%. Well, thank goodness entrepreneurs figured out how to get natural gas. May not like the idea that you're fracking, but it's going to be the link that gives us the opportunity to get away from fossil fuels in the long run, because the cheapest, cleanest fuel should win the day. And anybody that competes in the energy sector needs to embrace it, and that's what I'm seeing. I think you're going to also get other entrepreneurs that aren't going to be happy with business as usual in the healthcare industry. When I heard Chase, Berkshire Hathaway, and Amazon were going to maybe create healthcare within their own entity, believe me, that's got more likelihood to work than whatever we craft here. And I can tell you that Medicare for All is not the solution. Transparency, competition, ingenuity, innovation are the solutions. That's where I'm going to come from for the time that I'm here. Everything I talk about here, you notice I use no notes. I didn't do that on the campaign trail. I learned everything I'm interested in here, not at the Harvard Business School or getting an economics degree. I did in the School of Hard Knocks, rolling up my sleeves, not being intimidated by the first piece of property that I bought that didn't have a road to it. You ought to imagine trying to sell that to your wife as being the place where we're going to build our dream home. She was not happy when it took over a mile to get there and there was nothing there other than, it looked like no way it could work out. You got to have vision. You got to take risk. My sense is I'm going to be in a great spot as the chair of that subcommittee on the Agriculture Committee, on the EPW Committee, as the only guy that's actually really involved in farming on the Agriculture Committee, being on the Health, Education, Labor, and Pension Committee, and already to where we've got a lot of stuff down the pike, and the healthcare industry needs to be on notice. You're not just dealing with senators in the future, you're dealing with entrepreneurial senators, and we need more of this, more of us here if you're going to really see the dynamic change. Keep the faith. The tide is turning in our favor. It's in all of our own best interest. I'm pleased. I remember when the Cuyahoga River caught on fire. I remember in my local river where you would not have dared to have even gone fishing or eaten a fish out of the river. We can do that now. Never saw bald eagles on that river. See them routinely. We've come a long way. We've got a long way to go. I think we need to give ourselves credit that I think we're really leading. Maybe not politically, maybe not on the world stage where you a lot of times don't get things done, but in the real world, in the trenches, in places like I know that work. So stay tuned. I think you're going to see good things in the future. Thanks for listening to me. Appreciate it.